Welcome to the podcast. Today we have a special guest. We have Matt Robets, a UK National Series champion and a 20-time Spartan Race podium winner. Matt's journey from a challenging upbringing to a distinguished military career and now a thriving fitness entrepreneur is nothing short of inspiring. After 12 years in the British Army, Matt launched Primal Fitness, much like me, the Primal Swede. Primal Fitness, a unique coaching program that focuses on holistic health and performance. He's passionate about helping people transform their lives through ancestral health principles. So let's dive into his remarkable story and obviously his insights. Also, I just wanted to mention it on today's episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, well, I explain it also in the video itself, but I'm actually wearing really dark blue blocking glasses, right? As I had just recently lost my regular pair. That's why I kind of look like a hardcore biohacker, or maybe perhaps a bit of a crazy person, yet inspiring one, right? So check out today's episode, enjoy the episode, and I hope you find it inspiring. Stay strong. Are you tired of guessing whether your diet is truly working for you? Say goodbye to uncertainty and welcome a new era of nutritional clarity. It's time to shift from guesswork to evidence-based nutrition. Picture this. It's 2016 and I'm gearing up for some serious endurance challenges, crossing Iceland by mountain bike and tackling my very first Ironman in Kalmar, Sweden. But I had a problem. Past injuries lingered and I needed to optimize my health for peak performance, from immune support to muscle function and heart health. Enter the balance oil. Since 2016, it's been my secret weapon, delivering consistent results that I can trust. But let's rewind a bit. What sets balance oil apart? It's not just another omega-3 supplement, it's a game changer backed by science. With a simple finger prick test, I gained insights into my essential fatty acid levels, thanks to a state-of-the-art lab in Norway. The results, eye-opening. Turns out most of us suffer from a severe imbalance between the omega-3s and omega-6, a key factor in cellular function. The solution, the balance oil. The balance oil is formulated with polyphenols, potent antioxidants that preserves its freshness and efficacy. This isn't just about popping pills or taking an oil, it's about bioavailability, ensuring your body absorbs and utilizes every single drop. My journey with the balance oil didn't stop at the first test. With regular follow-ups, I've been seeing my ratios improve, paving the way for optimal health and performance. And now I'm thrilled to share this life-changing product with you. So are you curious about your own levels, if your diet works? Take the guesswork out of your diet and discover the balance oil. Plus, as a premier customer, you enjoy exclusive discounts up to 60% and personalized supports from your truly. Ready to unlock your full potential? Click the link in show notes under balance oil and test-based nutrition and join me on the path to better health. Okay, cool. So let's begin today's very interesting podcast episode. And today, just for the information, if you are listening in on this, obviously you won't see it, but I will mention it anyway. But if you are watching this episode, you might be thinking, like, why is this guy wearing sunglasses, right? So just super short story. I went biking this Saturday, 40K, like nothing to it. Or rather, I went 20K. Then I had a flat tire after 20 kilometers. I wanted to do 100. And then and I changed the inner tube and fixed everything. I realized I only had that one extra inner tube. So I went back to my place, 40K. And then I thought, I kind of wanted to do more, but that's fine. And then I couldn't find my regular glasses. So now I don't have any glasses anymore. So I have to wear sunglasses or my blue blocking glasses for 2 weeks. So it depends on which looks the coolest, I guess. So maybe that's like a poll or something. What do you think, Matt? Like,
I reckon go biohacker, Eric. That's the way, I reckon.
is that a way to go?
Yeah. And considering we're using screens right now as well, it might be most appropriate.
Yeah.
And then we'll get some sunlight after this.
Yeah. Okay, let's try these. Everything's like super red. Okay, so we have, like, with that put aside, that's like super short story. I invited a guest today and he will introduce himself, but what caught my attention from the very beginning was okay. So he's doing this obstacle course racing, which is highly interesting in itself. And he's also like the name of his business, I think, right, is Primal Fitness. And I always talk about primal here, primal that. And here in Sweden where I am, no one ever talks about primal. Like you don't really have that in the vocabulary, so most people are kind of confused, although I get what primal is, so maybe we can dive into that a bit.
Sure.
And also, actually, I will say this, Matt. I saw a post you did on Instagram a while ago with flow rope.
Mm,
You were somewhere, and I was kind of at the beginning of kind of thinking about flow rope. So I actually bought the flow rope after I saw your post. I
yeah,
hadn't really begun with it, but maybe that's a topic as well. So Matt Roberts, welcome to the podcast, The Quest. Please share, something about yourself. Who are you? Why do you do what you do? And what's your passion in life?
sure, man. Well, first and
That's a
foremost,
big one.
thanks very much for having me on. Pretty excited to chat about this. So, I am a primal health coach. I am the head coach at Primal Fitness, or also known as the Obstacle Dominators here in the UK. We are a coaching community full of obstacle course races, um, everyone from the UK, across Europe, and also the United States as well. Yeah, and what we largely do is help people with their health, get that in check, habits, routines, help them with nutrition, the physical training, aspects of their lifestyle, really optimizing that, as well as helping them with their mindset. And in regards to that, that could be around belief systems, that could be challenges they face on the course, like stress, anxiety, any limiting beliefs that they may have, imposter syndrome, these sorts of things. And then what we do with that is we translate that over into physical performance. So what I do in terms of an athletic sport is a relatively new sport. It's obstacle course racing. Most people might know it more like Spartan Race, Tough Mudder. They're kind of like the biggest brands that are out there right now. And I compete at an elite level within obstacle course racing.
Awesome. Thank you,
And
Matt.
to put some more context on that, and really what got me started with this was um, prior to getting into this field, this line of work, I wasn't in the best possible position with my health. I was actually in the military for 12 years prior to that. And clearly you have to be fit, robust, mentally resilient in every way, shape, or form for the role that you do. But equally with that, there's lots of sleep deprivation, there's lots of time away, there's poor quality nutrition, and my health declined, put on a lot of weight, and actually through an injury that I sustained, I got into this way of life, and that led on to me becoming a primal health coach, a personal trainer. And then once I got in shape and started doing really well in races, after my first year, lost the one pack and the belly and gained a six pack and attracted other athletes. And it really picked up from there. Initially, I started working with veterans and military personnel within the coaching business. But then as soon as I started to perform in OCR, that attracted who I love to work with and who I enjoy working with now, all the people.
Yeah, awesome. I would be interested to hear a bit about, maybe we can begin like with the idea of primal, because like your business is called Primal Fitness, and I talk about primal all the time, and I suspect maybe like listeners or the people watching this kind of maybe a bit confused about what is primal, and there might be different concepts and definitions and stuff, right? So what's your idea about what's primal for you, Matt?
Yeah, sure. It's great. And I think it's going back to our origins, our roots. Yeah, it's like the most basic, and doing the basics and doing them well, and aligning with what humans are meant to be doing. I feel like in today's world, as hyper connected as we are, we're also very disconnected from our environment. We can spend lots and lots of time indoors, if not all of it. We're certainly not getting the air that we need. We're not getting the contact with the earth that we need. We're not getting nourishing foods. Our relationships are like coming at a detriment to all of that as well. So it's like primal for me isn't about get your club and head back to the caves and join a tribe and whatever else. I think it's about having balance between both. Like we need to reconnect to nature, we need to reconnect to our roots and actually like do the basics and do them well over time, but also having a good blend of modern day society, all the luxuries and all the home comforts that we have. So I think it's an incredible like era to be living in.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like my actually when I became a primal health coach certified back in 2017, I got into it, yes, sure, for the exercise and the fitness, but mostly for the diet, and I was kind of curious about those aspects. Now, after a few years, kind of how I see primal is yes, that is super true, and I love what you share as well. I also kind of feel that primal is about kind of awakening that inner dormant voice, right? So when I go out and do cycling and all of these things, and especially if it's like a long distance, and I suspect you can relate when you do the OCR racing as well. Like you are out there in the your element, and it might be raining, you have the wind, you have the temperature, whatever. It's kind of you awake something within you, like an inner
Mm.
voice telling you this is like how life should be, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I really agree. And something come up for me there, and it's kind of looking at that and like releasing that inner human, um, and being out there in the elements, and that's really the thing that does awaken that within us. I find like we need to have that exposure to that. It's euphoric. It's an incredible feeling. But then also talking about like today's world, I feel like there's a lot of suppression of the expressions that we should be having because of societal norms and people frowning upon certain actions and whatever else. And then therefore we're not truly being authentic. I mean, like if we could have it our way, if it was probably socially acceptable, we'd probably still walk around in a loincloth most of the time.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like we'd walk into the supermarket barefoot and all that sort of stuff. But thank goodness we've got like barefoot shoes and other things and whatever else. So I think it's having a mix of both, but being awakened enough mentally to not really like care too much about like what other think about you, and like really expressing like our emotions and yeah, the way that we feel and the things that we want to do. And I feel like that's like a very congruent but attractive thing to do, especially as a man as well. But it's definitely against the grain,
Yeah.
should we say.
I went running the other day with a few colleagues, and you know, after maybe a kilometer, I felt this is we had maybe 5 degrees Celsius plus, right? But okay, and it's raining a bit. But then I felt, oh, this is good. So I took off my t-shirts. I was running bare chested, right? Uh, and that's a bit like I've been doing this for a long time in midwinter as well. I think that's awesome. I love it. But people tend to look at me, and then I had like there was this construction worker on the streets. It's like Viking, you know. So it's like yelling at
Yeah,
me and people honking their horns, and it stands out definitely.
yeah.
Um, but maybe you mentioned you were in the military as well. I'm kind of curious a bit about because the idea of the military in Sweden as well. You are, you know, you focus on fitness, maybe movement, lots of exercise. I suppose you have to be in a good shape and such. How's the nutritional aspects in? I suppose that would be in the UK military, I suppose, right? But are they kind of aware of, I don't know, low carb diets and stuff? Or was that?
Uh,
No.
most most definitely not. They do certainly make it a good effort to the best of their ability and knowledge. But yet again, where does this information come from? It comes from like the food plate, what the government disseminates down, and then you've got what sports nutritionists putting what they've got on it. But yet again, it's coming for that from that model that has been over the past 100 years developed, which, as we know, is flawed on so many levels and incorrect. So it's not all that compatible, but the way we used to view it is you just food is fuel, like you just need to eat, and not really having an understanding of macronutrients, the breakdown, the way they act and react on the body and the metabolism and what would actually fuel performance cognitively, physically. You're just like eating calories. So for like exercises or operations, you'd be given like a ration pack, which would be a 24-hour ration pack box 4,000 calories that you're meant to consume a day, give or take. You may burn that or more, but largely that's sugar. It's sweets, powdered, sugary drinks. So it's a very, very high carbohydrate,
Yeah.
which is great. But then, as you know, when you eat a very high carbohydrate diet, then that's not only going to mess with your gut and the biome and like your like levels of energy as well as appetite and leads you to want to crave more. It's not going to give you that sustainable energy and make you feel satiated. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle. Like you're clocking for energy, you need energy, so
Yeah.
you consume energy. So it's a vicious cycle. But then half the time as well, because some of it's not palatable and it is very high sugar, or you've got the actual meals that are very like heavily processed and lots of like artificial flavors and preservatives in them. Like some of these stuff like last for years, and some of them were even like moldy that we consumed. And in certain instances, you have to eat that because that's all
Yeah.
you've got available. So yeah, certainly very high carb, very low nutrient, and lots of anti-nutrients and lots of artificial processed things contained within that. Um, so yeah, that was a massive lacking point as well. And yeah, no matter what you try and do with your training, you technically can't out train that bad diet, and then that's partnered with other stressors like being overworked and then like minimal sleep and just everything really. Like it is one of the most unhealthy things you can put your body through. And anyone that manages to get a good body, like hats off to you in the military. Like you've obviously got a stable routine and job. But for me in the infantry, would go away for weeks, if not months at a time. So you can hardly get into that routine. And then it goes, well, I'm eating lots and lots of sugar, lack of protein, high intensity exercise or endurance for hours and hours and hours a day. And then you're stripping your muscle mass as well as like your body fat as well. So you're just like this scrawny, you're kind of like a maybe like a fit looking sick guy, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, done a lot of damage on that front. But all lessons learned. Yeah, I think that was a part of the story, a part of the journey for me, which led me to where I am now. And in fact, it probably led to injury at certain points as well due to like malnutrition.
Sounds lovely. Lovely.
I'm selling it to anyone. So
But
basically,
yeah.
join the forces.
Yeah. Eat well, eat nutritious,
Yeah,
healthy living. Yeah, but I suppose, if you make it's the same. It's the same going on here. It is, and also maybe if you buy these ready-made food packages, if you are into the outdoors, you want to go up north to the mountains and stuff. It's the same. You have these ready-made meals. It's just carbs and sugar and processed foods. It's not,
mm,
it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
it is.
Um, so Matt, like let's talk a bit about OCR racing then. So like why obstacle course racing? There are so many other
Yeah,
running and trail running and whatnot.
yeah. Because for me personally, and I mean this is an arguable point for anyone that is an athlete in their own field, but I feel like it is one of the most like dynamic, to be honest. It is all encompassing in the way of, or if we was to like partner that with what we were just saying about like primal, well, obstacle course racing, you could argue that it is the most primal sport. Like you are doing every sort of movement. You are crawling, you are climbing, you are jumping, you are hanging, you are swinging. Like you are doing absolutely every form of movement a human that can do across all sorts of landscapes, different terrain, all sorts of weather conditions. So it's very, very unique. And it will definitely gain a lot of like height and traction over the coming years. So yeah, that's what I'll say. Like it's a very primal sport.
I've done a few shorter races, like 10K, 5K, maybe 10K. Like we have something called the Tough Viking here
Mhm.
in Sweden. I think maybe that's a 10K race. A few obstacles. It's good fun. And we have something called the Bulls Run as well. It's an obstacle course race, but it's more like a mud race,
Yeah,
lots of mud, very humid. Good fun, good fun. Um, but you've been doing this for I'm reading your homepage as well. Like 20 times podium winner at Spartan Race. So the
yeah,
Spartan Race, is that like what is that? Like how long is it? Like how many obstacles do you cross?
yeah, yeah. So I started this back in 2018. Um, yeah, and really in Spartan, I mean, they got some new formats, but it could be anywhere from a 3 kilometer race, could be a 5 kilometer, could be 10K, could be 21K, could be 50K. They've got other distances and stuff like that. But Spartan's one of the more well-known like brands. It's a lot of trail running, approximately sort of like 20 to 30 obstacles per course per set distance.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very good one. It's like renowned for its running, its carries. It's not super technical. So like when you would have done like tough Viking or other ones, like they can be a little bit more like technical in terms of like the obstacles, in terms of like different rigs, monkey bars, those sorts of things as well.
Is there any like specific, like you said, it's kind of very functional, so you need to have like strengths in all in different all over the body, I suppose, like all body strength. Or are there any kind of benefits if you are a cyclist maybe, or a runner?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like some of the guys that perform the best in the sport are that come from running backgrounds. I'm not too sure if some of them come from running, like cycling backgrounds, but yeah, they certainly like, do that as part of their training. Because yeah, again, like as we know, it's like that that cardiovascular base, the endurance base. If you've got years and years and years of conditioning in that background, it's like, well, okay, well, although I don't necessarily do too much like functional fitness or strength or have technical ability or like a climbing background or something like that, it's all translatable and all trainable as well. And for me, like I didn't have a running background. You think, well, you do a lot of running in the military. It's like, no, you put a lot of weight on your back and you yomp across the ground for hours and hours, and then you get up and get down and run around with a heavy pack on your back. It's certainly not like running, although there's like conditioning and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe it serves a purpose, but like definitely my training is a lot different. Um, I don't feel like that necessarily helped me all that much because it's like I said before, it was so inconsistent. Like you go from being away from like weeks or months to then having weeks or months off, and it's like, well, I'm not doing anything there. Like, so yeah, it's definitely translatable. And if you've got a running background, that is going to give you a competitive edge. Like some of the best in the sport right now have come from like trail running backgrounds or fell running backgrounds.
Yeah. So what do you do? Like how for like the shorter distance races, I suppose maybe if maybe that takes an hour. Could that be like an hour race?
Yeah, yeah,
And the
potentially.
longer ones like 50K and such, that's 5, 6 hours. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
what's the okay, cool. So how do you like how do you regard nutrition? Like do you need a nutrition? Maybe not really, like if it's only 5 hours. So do you need to refill with something?
Yeah, yeah. It's dependent on the distance. Maybe some of the shorter distances, 5K, it's going to be over before you do anything anyway. So it's going to be about like how you set conditions in the week before, how you like eat the morning of. But then for like the longer ones over 10K, 21K, then obviously nutrition's going to come into play. You're going to need like intra, like session, like nutrition. And especially for like longer distance ones as well. But then if you're looking at like a 50K, the nutritional approach is going to be different intra race
Yeah.
than it would be for like a 21K or a 10K intra race. And it's still utilizing carbohydrates, but it's like, so as an example, I just done a 10K race this weekend. I done a couple of like 24-hour fasts in the 10 days leading up. So like OMAD
Ah, okay.
approach.
Yeah.
And then I went into a 48-hour fast. So technically I done like 3 to 4 days worth of fasting,
Yeah.
2 weeks out from the race,
Yeah.
which worked really well. Body composition, reducing inflammation, any sort of thing bad going on in my body. And then started to reintegrate like good primal nutrition, like fruits, veggies, plenty of meat. And then like Thursday, Friday, so only 2 days before the race, then I started increasing the amount of carbohydrates that I was having. And that'll be through like fruits, and then yeah, just other like simple sugars. Like I was using things like apple sauce and I was using maple syrup and these sorts of things. And then yeah, lots of potato. And then on the race, exactly the same deal. I didn't necessarily need any nutrition on the 10K. I didn't take any, but yeah. But that I feel like for me, that's something that's been formulated over years and years and years of practice. Like what actually works for me in terms of like ingesting the fuel, it being easy on my gut, but then actually I'm getting the bang for the buck and it's delivering the energy that I need at the right time without causing the stress. And I think that's where
Yeah.
it comes into play, is like correct nutrition at the right dose for the longer duration races. Because I've done races where you take a gel or something like that and you get gut cramp and that's
Yeah.
it. You've ruined your race. You've
Yeah.
lost your positions. You're out the game, or it just goes straight through you and you're like, oh no, this is not good. Too much sugar, and it just passes. So you need a little bit more like fiber and whatever else. So for like the longer distance ones, yeah, less carbohydrates initially, more like fat, more like food with like consistency to it, a little bit more stodgy, like real food. And then towards the back end, it's like, okay, we're not talking about like primal nutrition and health right now. What I'm doing is not healthy. Like, let's get the jelly snakes in, let's
Yeah,
get the like anything just to keep the energy high and the output high.
it's like when I biked from Spain to back to Sweden in 2019, I think, or 2020 or something, 2019 and 21 maybe. And then I when that was a 3,200k bike ride, right? And then when I was in North Germany, I wanted to cross all of Denmark in one go, right? Rather than stopping. So I did. So I biked throughout the night, and then I found this 24/7 open gas stations, right? With the small store. And I just bought whatever. Middle of the night, I buy coffee, candy, whatever. Who cares? This is the final stretch, you know? So then it's time to let go of anything. So yeah, I hear you. It's kind of that at the end of the stage, I think it's totally fine. I'm kind of curious about the fasting you said.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I heard that before. I do some fast sometimes, like 24-hour once. Um, but I would say I never really considered it to do it together, like in conjunction with an up-and-coming race. So you do that in order to kind of be better at like fat burning, or in order to kind of clean the gut, or what's the kind of main purpose of it?
I think those are definitely reasons, but there's definitely more. I feel like, like when you do fasting, whether it's a daily practice or you end up doing like multiple days or OMAD, like you gain clarity and focus, and obviously the effects that it has on your gut and the influence of that in connection with your brain. Like I feel more focused, more disciplined. So it's like the closer you get to the race, the more disciplined you need to be. Like rather than like doing the easy option where it's like, yeah, let's have the pizza, let's have the bagels, let's have all these things. I'm carb loading. This is great. Like it's kind of like a reset as such. You just level yourself out
Yeah.
so that you're not causing inflammation before the race. Actually, you're dumping it as well as body fat. Like after I'd done that at the start of last week, I was like, just like I felt cut, like I felt ready, I felt light.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen it with a lot of my clients as well when they've like experimented with it. And like, yeah, I've done this 2 day fast or 36-hour fast, and then they like hit a PB in the gym. That was the best run I've had. And it seems crazy to think that way, that it's like, well, hang on a minute. Well, if I'm depriving myself of food, I'm depriving myself of nutrition. But as we know, like if you are metabolically flexible, your body will use the energy that you've got on board. So it's not a case that you are deprived. It's you're utilizing the energy that you have on board and converting that in different ways and detoxing and everything like that. So a lot of it is focus and discipline. And then the closer I get to the race, it's like, okay, I don't need so much coffee, so we'll save that for like the morning of the race, so we get a bit of an endurance kick. Um, as well as like the nutrition. It's like, okay, I've just done this like fast, I'm feeling good. I don't want to dump loads of sugar back in. So it's like, let's integrate back into it with like some good like low carb nutrition, then start to incorporate more carbs. And then you don't feel like you've had this energy crash when you switch from like
Sure.
being in ketosis to being in a sugar burning state. So yeah, I think it does take discipline and focus, but from my point of view, it's super easy to do. And it's something I've done for years now. But obviously that's going to be race dependent. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Primal Reboot, the transformative program designed to reignite your vitality, rediscover your inner drive, and propel you towards achieving your fitness goals. Are you in your prime years but feeling disconnected from your health and fitness goals? Do you yearn to reclaim your energy, strength, and enthusiasm for life? Look no further. Primal Reboot is here to guide you on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Primal Reboot isn't just another fitness program, it's a holistic approach to wellness that combines physical training, mental resilience, and nutritional guidance. As your coach, me, Eric, the Primal Swede, I will work closely with you to develop a personalized roadmap tailored to your unique needs and aspirations. Say goodbye to the lethargy and complacency that may have crept into your life. Primal Reboot will reignite you in the drive and passion for living. Whether you dream of conquering a half marathon or simply want to feel more energized and alive, my program will empower you to push past your limits and achieve your goals. Unleash your full potential as you embark on a journey of self-improvement and growth. With Primal Reboot, the only limits are the ones you set for yourself. Through a combination of strength training, cardiovascular workouts, and mobility exercises, you build a strong, resilient body capable of conquering any challenge that comes your way. But physical fitness is just one piece of the puzzle. As a primal health coach focused on nutrition, I will provide you with the knowledge and support you need to fuel your body for peak performance and optimal health. Say goodbye to fad diets and deprivation. With my simple yet effective nutrition strategy, you learn how to nourish your body with wholesome, nutrient-dense foods that support your goal. And perhaps most importantly, you become a part of a vibrant and supportive community of like-minded individuals who share your commitment to living life to the fullest. Together, we celebrate your victories. We lift you up during challenges and inspire one another to reach new heights of success. So what are you waiting for? Join me on the journey to revitalize you with Primal Reboot. Your best years are still ahead. Let's make them extraordinary. Book a short, free discovery call where we can see if this program is for you. Don't wait, take action now. You find the link below this video. Stay strong. So how many, like I'm in the middle, or rather I would say if I back step a few, or I go back maybe 2 weeks, I would think, okay, so 2024, like which races should I do? Like trail running, maybe triathlon, especially cycling, and then I need like a framework. So I put together all of these races, right? And it's like a big list. And obviously I want to do all of them. I can't do all of them. That would be marvelous, but you know, maybe a few of them. So I'm kind of, and different distances, everything from like a 10K to I'm going to Spain in May to do a 700K ultra cycling, right? But like like what's your race calendar, Matt? Like how many races can you do during a year, or like, yeah, do you have like an idea of that? Or
this is such a good question, and there's so much to it, because if you do too much, it's going to be detrimental. If you don't do enough, then is there enough in the calendar to keep you motivated and focused? So it's really trying to find balance. Something I find useful is having like an A race. So there's probably maybe 8 A races in the entirety of the year. It's part of like the UK OCR series. So there's some major events across the year. Some of them are quite close together. So a lot of the training's been done now and will be done in various training blocks for that. But then also there's like B races. So it's like for the past 3 weeks, I've done races on weekends, but there's no expectation. I'm not going there to like hit a podium. I'm not going there to hit a PB. I'm going there to like get some mileage in, get some intensity in that particular setting, environment, and actually experience like going off with other people as well. So there's a whole host of benefits to doing that. But I think definitely plotting them in the correct way. An example, like last year, done lots of events, done lots of races, and in previous years, and also looking at a lot of other people I coached, like overcommitting is actually setting you back and also doing too much in one go. So as an example, over the past 3 weekends that I've done like races or competed, the first race that I did on trails beat me up the most. So it was off the back of a full week of training. So I didn't taper, didn't change anything. It was scheduled in as part of the plan. It was just going to be a race. But because of like the terrain, come Monday, like my legs were beaten up, I was sore.
Yeah.
And realistically, I'll probably take a day off and do something light on the Monday. But then in theory, I was like, I'll get back into it on Tuesday. But I didn't actually get back into like proper structured like training, the intensities, the threshold worked more like Wednesday or Thursday. So it's not only like the event itself, it's how you tackle the event and at what cost that comes at. Whereas the following weekend, I went and done a fell race, which was same distance, same sort of elevation, but just on like grassy terrain and trails and fells. Got to the end of that, and it was half an hour longer and felt good. Come Monday, Tuesday, I was back into training. So it's being smart with the approach and not like biting off more than you can chew. A lot of OCR athletes, in particular in Spartan, they'll do like a trifecta weekend where you do a beast, which is 21K, then you do a 10K, then you do a 5K, and it's like that's great. That's really good. You might do like 50 kilometers in a weekend,
Yeah.
but at what cost? And then when we look at this at the bigger picture, it's like, well, if you're frequently doing races really, really hard, actually that comes at the cost of you missing out on a week before due to tapering. Also a week afterwards where you're recovering. If it's a longer distance, could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks if you've done an ultra before you're back into the swing of things. And when you look at the grand scale of things, how much training you actually do in the year?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I'm definitely a believer of like whoever is the smartest in training, you can out train your opponent, and it's as simple as that. Right.
Yeah. It can be, you have all of those things to consider, and then obviously, transportation to get to the venues, logistics, costs, training, fitness, other commitments,
All stress. Yeah.
yeah, and your regular 9 to 5 job and paying the bills and family and relationships,
Yeah.
and it can be kind of tricky sometimes to actually carve out or create time in order to do what you love to do. That's my experience. Maybe that's something you can relate to as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think another thing on like the way that we approach our training in regards to all those things that you mentioned with lifestyle and logistics and the things that goes on, and the thing that can make us like burn out or do too much and not get the results that we want comes down to like just doing too much too soon and just overwhelming yourself, and then the compliance with the training drops off. And then when the training drops off, we beat ourselves up and going, oh no, this event's coming. And then that causes more stress. And then this is like the lack of consistency. And when there's no consistency, then there's lack of progress. But what does consistency look like? Yeah, I think when we create a program or join a program, we think, yeah, everything's got to be perfect. Well, it's like, well, if you've done 80% of that, if you've done 50% of that in comparison to what you're doing right now, but not just like in the next 3 months or the next 6 months or the next year, like having a conversation with two of my coaches today and a number of my clients last week, it's like, just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, it's fantastic. You've achieved this in 3 or 6 months. Now amplify this. Look where you'll be in another year on top of this. Look where you'll be in 5 years. Look where you'll be in 10 years. And like I've spoken about a couple of sprinters recently. One's Usain Bolt. Everyone's familiar with Usain Bolt. And there's another British sprinter. And in both of these scenarios, there's actually a video clip of Usain Bolt, and I think he's at the Olympics, and he does the 100-meter sprint, and he comes in something like fifth, and he's like absolutely like devastated by the fact of it. But that put a fire in his belly. So for the next 4 years, he worked to reduce his time and absolutely smashed it. But like the thing we said was like, okay, well, he's gone from here to here in 4 years. What about the previous 4 years and the previous 4 years to get him to where he was? But people just think 6 month program, 3 month program, that's it. This is all I need. No, it comes back to consistency, and it's better that you do something than nothing in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. And for me, like sometimes I don't want to train, or I look at a training session, I'm like, holy crap, like, I don't want to do that. There's a lot of volume there, there's quite a lot of intensity. I've already done this. Just get started, do what you can, take no more than your body allows you to, and just like ease into it and be kind to yourself. And then that equals consistency. But if we flip it on its head and we're like, oh, I'm obviously failing, that didn't go to plan, and we look at all the negatives and bad stuff, that's going to weigh on us heavy psychologically. Whereas if we look at the positives, and the good that come of it, that's the thing that compounds and leads to success over time.
You know, I think it's, or what I learned when I bikepacked across the US was the importance of having it. It was more important to have a goal rather than to set the goal. So if I was biking and then the goal for the day was 100, well, actually it was 180 kilometers a day. That was kind of my intention. That is what I wanted to do. And sometimes I reached it and sometimes I surpassed it. So it went even longer. So that was a magic, fantastic, you know. Sometimes I did maybe 150K or 120K. And I still came pretty far. So that was really good, even though, however, other days I didn't set a goal. I felt, you know, I'm gonna have a rest and recovery day, but I'm still gonna bike. I'm gonna see where I end up, and maybe I do 180K. You know, let's see what happens. And all on those days, I always came shorter, right? Because I stopped caring. I didn't really care, and I didn't really get where I wanted to go. And I felt kind of depleted and exhausted, and I didn't really want to do anything, and like unmotivated, maybe, right? So I
Yeah.
learned that it's better to actually have a goal, and that is more important than actually setting the goal, right? That makes
Mm,
sense.
yeah. Yeah. It's been focused on the process, isn't it?
At the
It's the
process,
journey,
yeah,
it's the ride. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Because yeah, with the goal, like if you said, right, that's it, non-negotiable, every single day I'm going to get on that bike and I'm going to do 150K. Like, how would that have affected you psychologically versus going, all right, minimal effective dose, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to aim for 70, 80K a day, like minimum, see how I feel, be intuitive.
yeah,
Like that would be consistency. But if we like bite off more than we can chew and like the outcome is unrealistic in a way, although it may be realistic from time to time, that mammoth task ahead of us might be a massive deterrent, and that would be the thing that leads to setbacks and injuries. So it's pacing yourself and
yeah.
yeah,
You know,
being adaptable to the situation.
exactly. I have clients as well in running and cycling specifically, and we have our programs as well. And sometimes, you know, they get back to me and they kind of, you know, feeling they are kind of failing because they're not like following the program exactly. You know, so
Mm,
my input, my approach is, yeah, that's fine, don't bother so much, you know. That's kind of a set framework, it's a structure, and it has a logic to it. It's logic, it makes sense, but
mm,
it's more important that you actually do what you can do, right? So skip a
yeah,
few days, whatever, you know, skip a few sessions, but keep on, stay on the progress, stay on the overall track, right? But if you skip the certain sessions, you know, it doesn't matter too much.
yeah, yeah. You've hit the nail on the head. And yeah, it just comes down to having a very simple, actionable approach that you can show up for. Yeah. And just keep ticking those boxes. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's
Yeah.
really like the compounding effect over time, that's for sure.
So tell me, you know, I have like one or two questions more, I suppose, but tell me something about your program then, because I know you are coaching clients and specifically OCR and such, but you share a bit about how your program works.
Yeah, sure. So we've got a couple of different approaches. We've got like our one-to-one coaching, where myself and my team work with the guys independently, individually, like very immersed in what they're doing. Like everything is customized. So it's not a case of going, all right, here's the template of a program, follow this for the next 6, 12 months, blah, blah, blah. Like we look at the individual. Okay, what's your personal life? What's your routine? Like what's your work? Like what other life commitments do you have? Like what is the goal? Like what's realistic in terms of like an approach and a process to go through in a very simple and effective way, really. And then once we've done that, we'll go, okay, these are like the four main areas that we can like support you and coach you with. Which one is the one that we need to place the most emphasis on right now? And then we just get the reps in with that, build on the success while simultaneously building the others in the background, but just making it simple, actionable so that they can be as consistent as possible. And that's all to do with like the nutrition, the fitness, the lifestyle, and also like the race strategy and the mindset. But it's all about the fundamentals. And I'm sure you agree, there's no point trying to focus on performance if your sleep's out of whack or your nutrition's not in a good place, you're fighting an uphill battle, or stress is like super elevated and something's out of whack, and you're like trying to go, okay, well, we want to hit these numbers in a workout, and these are the reasons why, but it's like you're not even eating. So how are you going to fuel that performance? So do the basics, do them well, get them right, set the foundations of the pyramid, and then progressively move up,
Yeah.
and then stabilize, and then move forward. And it's each to your own, and something we try our very best, although it's very hard as human beings to like remind our clients of, is like comparison, like comparison to other people.
Mm.
Like what's the saying? It's the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Like realistically, it should be you versus you. Like who were you yesterday? Who were you last week? Who were you last year? And the great thing is like when we do various like evaluations at different stages along the timeline, we work with people. But when we jump on a call with them at various stages, it's like, okay, let's just break this down. Okay, you've achieved this, this, and this in, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. Okay. Do you feel like this is sustainable? Yes. Okay, great. So imagine now like building on your success and doubling what we've achieved in the next couple of months. How does that feel? Yeah, great. Imagine where you're going to be in a year, 2 years. Okay. So it's just like realistic. But then also on top of that, it's reminding them that it's a journey. Like transformation can happen soon, but true transformation takes time. It is a journey, it's a process, and we're always going to be on it. So if anyone's looking at programs going, yeah, let's achieve everything in the next 6 weeks, completely unrealistic. You may make some fitness gains if you're relatively new, but for people at the top end, you're looking at months and months and years for marginal gains when you get to that area. So yeah, really, we do the fundamentals. Once we're good, once we're happy, once the individual's happy, then we start focusing more on the performance. And we have different like phases and stages more than programs, and everyone progresses across that timeline at their own pace, and we're completely cool with that. And as are the guys as well. But to put some context on that, we've like got a number of elite races now that actually, for the most parts, we've actually taken them from being non-competitive races that would just show up to a race,
Yeah.
to then winning podiums, to then winning championships, to then
Wow.
like becoming elite level runners as well. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful thing. But yeah, just to say it again for probably the 10th time, it's doing the basics, doing them well, like repetition, consistency.
So where do send me the links and stuff, like your website and everything. Send it to it. It will be on the show notes. Okay, so
Yeah, great.
anyone listening or watching this as well, they can reach out to Matt for more information about the program. And I'm also curious, we're approaching spring. We have like 7 degrees Celsius today. So now it's the season. Is the season now beginning then, like the spring, and now all the racing will start, or it's kind of after winter, I suppose?
Yeah. So going into next month, we've got like our first official like OCR races happening. We're actually going to Mallorca next month as a team, on like the 10th, and there's like a couple of Spartan races there. So we're going to do a training camp in
Yeah.
Mallorca. It's going to be the first bit of
Oh,
sunshine,
nice.
hopefully anyway. So that's kind of like the kickoff to the season after a few dark and gloomy months, since sort of like November, February time. So yeah, it's going to be going out there and doing that. And then yeah, pretty much a week after that, we've got our first UK OCR series race, which is like the big like national series here for obstacle course racing. And then pretty much month in, month out over the rest of the year, there's a big sort of A race to get after.
So if I would go to the UK and I would do an OCR race, which one would you recommend?
That's a good question. I would say um, nuclear races. Yeah, definitely nuclear races, because you've got a good blend of like fun, but also like technical obstacles, and it's like very testing. No matter what time of year, like if you're doing it this time of year, you could be hypothermic because you're just up and down through like ditches and mud and lakes and swimming, and there's like this big death slide. So it's like a good blend of like challenging OCR, but then also like pretty tough weather
Sounds
conditions,
fun.
but equally in the summer as well.
Yeah.
So that would be one I recommend.
What was the name of this one?
Called Nuclear Races. So yeah, nuclear race. It's in
Nuclear.
Brentwood, Essex. Yeah, so it's like in the east.
Okay.
Yeah,
Send me the link afterwards.
yeah, sure. It's a good one. I think they got I think May's the first one. Nuclear Rush.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's round it up a bit. So Matt, like, what's your do you have for the viewers and listeners like a final message, something like you want to convey to the audience, something you feel this is important?
Yeah, I think to really summarize on our conversation, the importance of like going slow, taking your time with absolutely everything, and like building healthy habits over time is the most important thing. Yeah, not putting any undue pressure on yourself to set the world on fire overnight and gain all the performance things that you want. Like just take it slow. Like consistency over time is the thing. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the story of like the tortoise and the hare, but in the end the tortoise ends up beating the really fast hare because of like the consistency and just constantly moving forward. So that's what it's about. It's about just taking your time, doing the basics, doing them well, having some fun as well, not being unrealistic with your expectations, not doing too much, but equally having enough in the diary to keep that fire in the belly, as well as having some fun as well. And ultimately, that's why we do this. We want to overcome some challenges for self-improvement, but ultimately we want to make sure that it's healthy and fun. So we've got like a fine balance between that. Yeah, get after it. Life is short. Yeah, we're
Life
only
is
here for
short.
a short time.
Have fun.
So that's it. Take some action.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Cheers, Eric.
And that is the wrap up for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on all main social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even on LinkedIn under the Primal Swede. Okay, so follow me there for behind the scenes content from the podcast, but also where I share more info about nutrition, fitness, endurance, bikepacking, and all of these things. Adventure, right? About the podcast itself, make sure to subscribe and follow the podcast. I'm on all main podcast platforms like iTunes, Spotify, and so on, okay? If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube as well so you don't miss anything else I put on my YouTube channel, okay? So now to finish this off, I really hope you got value and inspiration, and just one final thing, stay strong, kick ass, and be a beast, my friend. Go after your dreams, chase your dreams, never give up. Cheers.